Good morning. Welcome in on this Wednesday. This is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. You can also listen on the PGA Tour Radio Network on SiriusXM's Channel 92. And this program is proudly brought to you by Century Insurance, right by you. Century does so many great things when it comes to the game of golf, their relationship with the United States Golf Association, and of course with the First Tee, as well as sponsoring the first event of the calendar year on the PGA Tour. Our proud North Carolina-based partners, Golf Pride. Every grip, every level, every player. The new Align Max is the best grips that I have had on my clubs. They're available now. Of course, Peter Millar, everything I've worn for the last 15 years, is the best apparel provider across the board, whatever you need. And then, of course, Pinehurst Resort. Pinehurst is not only an anchor site for USGA championships, it is the cradle of American golf. If you are planning a trip to enjoy the game of golf, not to mention all the other things you can do around the resort, Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. All right, we've got a lot to get to today. I'm looking forward to a conversation we're going to have in about 15 minutes with Bud Cauley off of a monstrous week at the Players' Championship. His journey to where he is now in the game, interrupted by a horrifying car accident. So looking forward to talking to him at about 8:15. Then Andy Johnson, the founder of Friday Golf. When you consider all the things that are out there to consume, we talk so much about YouTube golf. I think Fried Egg, as far as across the board in terms of the way that they cover the sport of golf, the way that they talk about design, he is such an intellect when it comes to the game of golf. I'm looking forward to talking to him. But let's start with some junior golf, because the Junior Invitational at Sage Valley starts today down the road in Graniteville, South Carolina. And this is an event that was founded in 2011. And when the club was founded, they thought to themselves, how can we contribute? Let's not just make this some type of secret enclave for people to come and play golf that have wealth and have money and have means. That's great, but what else can we do? So they created the Junior Invitational, and it is now, by everybody's definition, the best junior event in the world. And they have had people like Jack Nicklaus and Tim Finchem and former presidents go there and speak to the participants. And then when you have winners like Scotty Scheffler and Akshay Bhatia and Joaquin Niemann and Tom McKibben and Anna Davis and Astrid Talley win your golf tournament, that helps as well. But what they've done there under the direction of their former founder, and it will always be the founder, Weldon Wyatt, and his son, Tom Wyatt, and then longtime general manager there, Dave Christensen, and Jimmy Gibbs, and Bob Antonin, what they have done, they have given the best junior players, not from just this country, but the world, the greatest platform to come and compete and treated like adults. Because you'd like to believe that, look, some of them are going to go on and win at the highest level. And I'll never forget, I actually was invited, not only did I cover this event for many years for Golf Channel, I was asked to speak to all the participants on the eve of the 2012 Junior Invitational at Sage Valley. And when it was over, I was milling around talking to some of the juniors. One of them came up to me and was asking about what he needed to do to advance himself in a way that beyond college golf, he could be a professional golfer. And I shared what I could, but the last thing I said to him was, just remember, don't count on professional golf being your livelihood. Just enjoy it for what it is and reach as high as you possibly can. 2 months later, that kid was leading the U.S. Open through 27 holes. That was Bo Hostler. I'll never forget when he walked off the first green, which was his 27th hole at the Olympic Club, and he was leaving, and I said, I told that kid that don't count on golf being your life. He has gone on and he is making a fine living playing professional golf. But the grander point is that events like this are critical to the future of golf, and I applaud everybody down there at Sage Valley. It's a special place. These kids are treated to all of the trappings that all the people who go there to enjoy golf on every other week get. So I express on behalf of all of us here at 5 Clubs, kids, have a great week, enjoy it, compete your hearts out, and whoever the winner is, you get that gold jacket, and there are a lot of great names on it. But it leads me to a larger kind of examination of where we are, because what just concluded not far from Sage Valley was a women's college event at Old Barnwell, which is just south of Aiken, which is just east and south of Sage Valley. It's a coincidence, But yesterday, Wake Forest women's team beat South Carolina in what was the Old Barnwell Derby match, which had a lot of the top women's teams go there. Nick Schreiber is the founder of Old Barnwell. Morgan Purvis, and not to mention Kitty, who is the head golf professional. They're great staff there. Nick, when he built Old Barnwell, which is very, very new, but still has burst into the top 100 of golf courses in this country because it really is a special place. But it's not just special because Brian Schneider and Blake Connett, who designed the golf course, built something really, really good. It's because they have a soul to what they're doing there. It's a soulful place. They've got a kids course, and it's about access and inclusion, not to mention their desire to help subsidize the pathway for women in the game of golf who want to play professionally. To have these women at the college level, the elite college level, go and play there over the course of several days, because match play is how they decide a national championship, is also a great wrinkle. But it's more than that. It's about the idea that we are going to build a place with a mission that it's not just, again, about, hey, look, this is special. If you got some means, you can be a member here, bring your friends. And I'm not downgrading that. Look, that's very important to the ecosystem of golf. But betting on and investing in the future of golf at every level is how you sustain the industry. And Old Barnwell and Nick Schreiber and what they're doing there is a shining example of that. And let me just add one more to that, because come in June, the beginning of June, the Palmer Cup, which is a wonderful event that pits collegiate men and women from the United States against players who play collegiately in the United States against kids from other countries. It's a wonderful event. It's an homage to Arnold Palmer, and it's had great venues. And it's going to be at the Congaree Golf Club, which has hosted a couple of PGA Tour events, and they were thrust into that position, and they turned around and pulled off an event that was supposed to be played in Canada because the RBC Canadian was canceled that year because of COVID. They got 75 days notice, and they pulled it off, and Rory McIlroy won the CJ Cup. Now they're having the Palmer Cup. But Congaree is not just trying to do events like this, which are great. They're great. They have the Global Golf Initiative, which brings kids there at the end of their season before they close down for the summer to get advanced academic support and instruction and fitness to advance them in the game. But Congaree does more than just that. They also have the Congaree Foundation, which in Jasper County, which is where the club is, not far from Ridgeland, South Carolina, there's a lot of poverty there. There's a lot of kids who may have nothing or no interest in golf as they grow up, but they get a pathway not only to the game of golf, but academic support after hours, after school hours, to go to the schoolhouse on the property at Congaree to get what they need. Advocacy in life. Congaree is doing that. These are examples of things that we see happening in the game of golf that are critical. They are critical so that golf can advance, not just the best players playing for a lot of money, but all players enjoying the game of golf and making it a part of their life. And let me add one final thing, because in less than 2 hours, the Underrated Tour is going to release their schedule for this year. And you've heard me talk about the Underrated Tour because we here, Signature Sports Group, and by extension 5 Clubs, have been very lucky to play a very small part in the Underrated Tour since it began. And it's Steph Curry's vision. It's his future in the game of golf after he stops making three-pointers, of which he's made more than 4,000 of them. And at 10 o'clock, you're going to find out what the schedule is. And these kids are going to be giddy because they're not only going to travel the country, a handful of them are also going to go to 2 events in Europe. And then it will culminate at the Curry Cup in September. And here's the kicker for all of this, because these 96 kids, equally split between boys and girls, that are going to play these 4 domestic events. A handful will go to Europe once, maybe twice, and then a handful of them are going to play at the Curry Cup. They will incur no cost, zero. They will travel this country playing great venues against each other like a band of brothers and sisters because of great sponsorship like KPMG, investing in the future of golf. That is what we need to be thinking about, and hopefully enough of the time is spent talking about all of these initiatives, all of these events that advance the game beyond 2025 to 2050. In 2035 and beyond, and as we look at, and by the way, in 2035, these kids are playing in all these events will be winning major championships. You can count on that. We're going to take a break. An IT kid, who's now a parent of 2 small children, is going to join me. I remember when he bypassed Q School, we had him in the studio on Morning Drive, and he was just fresh out of college from the University of Alabama. And now he is a guy making a living again after a horrifying car accident, but he had a special week at the Players, and I'm speaking, of course, of Bud Cauley. He's going to join me, Andy Johnson of the Fried Egg, a little bit later on, and dogs. We end the week with Dogs of the Week. It's a Wednesday edition of 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel. You can also listen on the PGA Tour Radio Network. We're back with Bud Cauley right after this. Back in on this Wednesday. Good to have you with us here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. You can also listen on the PGA Tour Radio Network on Sirius XM. This segment is brought to you by Golf Pride. Again, all players, every level. Golf Pride is the most trusted grip. It's not even close all around the world. All right, joining me now, he finished tied for 6th at the Players. It was a great week for him. It was such an important week considering he's on a major medical, and I'm speaking of Bud Cauley joining me on the eve of the Valspar Championship. He is in the field. Good morning, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Listen, thanks for doing this. Let's start at the end and we'll work backwards. Let's start with last week. You know, Lee Hodges, he withdraws early in the week. You get into the field. You know, look, I know for you, you're just trying to prepare for a golf tournament, but does your mind drift to knowing how important all these finite starts were, considering the major medical that you're on? Does your mind drift at times to that stuff, or did it?
Yeah, you know, I tried my best to not think about it, but, you know, it's always in the back of your mind. Just the points and the starts and, you know, even the weeks that maybe you're not in contention, but just trying to finish well on Saturday and Sunday to get those points. It's kind of a stressful way to go about playing professional golf. Not that it's already not stressful enough, but it's just nice to have that over and done with now.
You got off to a good start. You shoot 68 on Thursday. Did you feel, whether it was your state of mind, physically, all the things that have got to be kind of converging to be in a position to have a really good week, did you feel good before the golf tournament started in terms of the way that you were seeing lines, the way that you were striking the golf ball?
Yeah, really all year I felt like I've kind of played better than even my finishes reflected. You know, I had a couple decent finishes in Hawaii and in Phoenix, but I still felt like I was playing better than kind of my scores were showing. And, you know, that's a place, TPC, that I've played a lot, you know, when I used to live there and growing up. And, you know, I knew it was a kind of an A to B golf course, which I think fits my game. And so I had some confidence going in there and felt like I could have a good week.
Saturday, 66. So now you're set up. You know, because of the weather, everything changes, split tees, threes. You find yourself in the last group. Your body reacting to a circumstance like that, adrenaline-wise, how different did you feel knowing the gravity of the circumstance? And look, being back in a place you hadn't been in a while, last group on a Sunday, monstrous event. How was the adrenaline?
It was there. You know, I was actually, I wasn't pulling for bad weather, but I was almost happy that we were going off earlier, which meant that I didn't have as long to sit around and think about the day. You know, I was able to wake up and didn't have too much time after I did my warm up and everything to go tee off. And so I thought I actually kind of liked that a little bit more than teeing off at 2:30 in the afternoon. But yeah, I mean, I definitely had a lot of nerves on the first tee. But was able to hit a great drive right off the bat, and that really kind of settled me down. I was really encouraged, I guess, by how comfortable I felt all day.
Do you think, look, you play with guys and you're focused on your own game, but there's this belief that you can draft off each other, but you can also drag off each other. And you and JJ Spawn and Lucas, it wasn't the greatest opening night. It was a little scratchy combined. Does that have a residual effect at all on you, or is that overrated?
I think it's overrated. I just think all the guys out here, you're really just focused on what you're doing, and whether another guy's making birdies or bogeys, I really don't think it matters that much, or I don't think it affects me that much. If you go out there and you're playing well, then it's almost like nothing else matters if you're making birdies. So I think it's a little overrated.
How aware were you of whether it was noise that was right in front of you because of the start that Rory got off to, or looking at leaderboards? What was your awareness level in terms of where you stood standing on 10T?
Yeah, I knew exactly where I was. There's that big scoreboard there on 9, and I knew I hadn't gotten off to the best start, and Rory got off to a great start, but with him starting a couple behind us, no one was really kind of running away with it. And I felt like I said, even though I made a couple bogeys I wish I could have back, I was still right in there, and it felt like no one was really going out and taking the tournament, and that I still had a good chance.
And you did coming down the stretch, because look, Rory makes bogey on 14, doesn't take advantage of 16, so there's not a lot of separation. And all three of you guys, whether it's overrated or not, you guys dug in. And in the last 5-6 holes, you're still hanging around. What was your mindset standing on 16T?
Yeah, I thought just hit a good drive. I think I was 3, maybe 4 back at the time. Obviously I'm thinking about, I know I can get there in 2 with an iron if I can hit a good second shot in there and make eagle. The greens were quite a bit softer after the delay, so 17 wasn't really playing that difficult. And I thought if I can go, eagle birdie here, then I can really give myself a shot on 18, whether it's the tie or to win. And I hit a good drive there, and unfortunately didn't hit the best second shot and walked away with par, which kind of, my chances were almost, done at that point. But, was able to birdie 17 and make a good par on 18 to kind of finish out the tournament.
You know this. Look, one guy gets a trophy, but there are other winners. It's a big winning week for you under the circumstances that we kind of gave context to. How immediately do you allow yourself some level of satisfaction for a job well done?
Yeah, it's tough. Obviously as a golfer, just unless you win, you're never completely happy. But, when I look back on it, when I woke up Monday morning last week, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to play in the event. And so to play the way that I did and have a good finish and not have to worry about my medical anymore, there are a lot of positives that I can take away from that. And, also just my golf, and happy with the way I played. And I'm really happy that I'm playing again this week to kind of keep it rolling and hopefully put myself in that position again on Sunday. And now I have a little more, experience that I can hopefully, use going forward.
I don't know if you get fatigued by a lot of people, and here I go doing this, belaboring the car accident, but it's part of your journey, and it's significant because it altered your path for not just like a finite amount of time, like for years. Feeling physically and mentally like you are as good as you can be. After that accident, how long did it take before you felt like, I am who I expect myself to be as a golfer?
Yeah, it's hard to say. You're kind of, it's changed me forever, obviously. I really think I'm at a point now where I feel comfortable that just my routine and the things that I know I need to do will allow me to stay healthy and to keep playing. But, now it's not, I guess I kind of noticed when I stopped thinking about it all the time. There was really like a fear for a long time that it could pop up again any day, and that it would start hurting, and maybe golf would get taken away from me again. And I feel like I don't have those thoughts anymore, and I wake up and I don't go out there thinking about, playing as an injured golfer or a golfer who could potentially get injured. I feel as strong as I've ever felt. And, it's never going to be quite the same, but, when I'm playing, I don't have any pain, and it's really not in my mind anymore.
You know, you mentioned it, the thoughts about it being taken away. Look, every athlete has to face their own kind of athletic mortality at different stages of their life. Did those thoughts make you uptight? Did it make you sad? Did it make you angry? Did you deal with any self-pity? What was kind of your feelings and the thoughts that you had when you started thinking about maybe it being taken away from you? I think he froze up. Okay. All right. We will try to get Bud back. I thought that was a good question, and I thought maybe he froze because he was pondering it, because it was so deep. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will come back. Hopefully we'll reconnect with Bud Cauley, continue this conversation. Andy Johnson as well to come from the Fried Egg. It is a Wednesday edition of Five Clubs. We're back after this. All right, it's the bottom of the hour. We're back here on Five Clubs here on Golf Channel. Also, you can listen on the PGA Tour Radio Network. People ask me, like, why do you love live television? Because of what happened like 5 minutes ago. Not because I want it to happen. It's because, you know, how do you deal with it? When somebody just goes dark like Bud Cauley did. It's not his fault. He's back with me, so let's continue and finish up this conversation with the guy who's coming off a tie for 6 at the Players. I asked you what I thought was a great question, and I thought you were pondering the answer. And no, you just froze and went away. So let me just repeat it in brief. When you dealt with those moments where you thought, is it going to be taken away? Were you angry? Were you sad? What were the thoughts that you had when you thought maybe golf was over?
Yeah, it did make me sad. You know, and the thing that was the hardest too, looking back on it, I remember saying this to my my trainer Colby. You know, I really miss playing professional golf, but, you know, Christy and I had just got married. Cooper was just born, and I was thinking about not being able to play golf with him. You know, golf's been such a big part of my life, and, you know, I loved playing professional golf, but I always envisioned playing with, you know, our kids in the future and our family, and the fact that he would grow up and maybe have some interest in golf and want to play, and I wouldn't be able to, like, participate in that because I was hurt. That was a really tough pill to swallow. And, you know, whenever I would get down or get frustrated or think that, you know, things weren't going to get better, you know, once he was born, that was another, like, motivating factor for me, that even if I couldn't get well enough to play professionally again, I wanted to heal enough where I could play golf and enjoy those things with him.
Well, you got a lot to look forward to starting this week at the Valspar. So let's complete this conversation. 5 to go with Bud Cauley. 5 quick questions to get him out the door so we can go and do a little practice. With respect to your old teammate, Justin Thomas, and roommate, what was his best housemate behavior and what was his worst? Like, what was the best thing he did as your roommate? What was the worst thing he did?
Man, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'll say JT's pretty clean, pretty tidy. So that was maybe the best thing. I don't know. The worst thing, there are a couple of things that come to mind I don't want to say. But
no, say it. It's cable.
We he was pretty good. I'll be nice. I'll just give him the positive and I'll leave out the negative.
Okay, who was the best junior/college golfer you saw who wasn't a teammate?
Best junior, probably Peter Uihlein. You know, growing up, he won a ton of juniors tournaments, and then once we got to college, he won USAM. We were teammates on the Cannon Cup, but I'd say Petey was a roll beater back in the day.
All right, you have little people in the house. You're still describing them by how many months they've been alive. How do you get your little people in your house to nap? What's the most effective napping mechanism for you?
If you have any tips, I'm all ears. The napping's a struggle right now. We've been lucky with Cooper. He sleeps great through the night, but naps are very, very hit and miss. So if anyone has any ideas, I'd be happy, and Christy also, to get some advice.
All right. The movie that whether it's 30 minutes in or 30 minutes to go that you will just go, I'm watching. I'm watching the rest or I'm watching all of it.
Ooh. I don't know why the first movie that popped in my head was Shawshank Redemption. I love that movie.
Again, 30 minutes in, 30 minutes to go. That's as good an answer as there is.
Yeah.
All right, the player on tour with the most entertaining temper. Not the worst, not the best, the most entertaining to you. Whose temper is the most entertaining?
I don't know if I call it a temper, but I always love hearing Jordan talk his way through whatever's happened or will happen or is about to happen. I think it's always funny to hear him and Greller go back and forth and just talk through every scenario.
No, that's a good one. There's a level of despair and hysteria associated with. Listen, I'm glad that we had a chance to catch up. Congratulations on a monstrous week, and look forward to seeing you soon enough.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
You bet. There is Bud Cauley. Big week, one of the best stories that we had at the Players Championship. All right, we transition every Wednesday. We do a Club 5. We open up the club. I know look, somewhere it's 5 o'clock, and you're getting ready to go into a club. This is more of a hot list if you're unfamiliar with it. So let's take a look at what we have in Club 5. We're going to start with Ludwig Oberg. Look, I picked him to win the Players. He missed the cut. That might have been an exodus out of the club. We're going to keep him in there because he did win the Genesis. He's also got a top 5, and I think any week you'd make him a betting favorite, whatever the golf course is. At number 4 is Joaquin Niemann. He's won 2 live events. You go back to the end of last year, he also won in Saudi, which was a top-heavy field. The rub is going to be the majors for him. 22 major starts. He doesn't have a top. He doesn't even have a top, I think, 15 in a major in 22 starts, and he's played in all the majors with the exception of one in the last 4 years. But he is playing exceptionally well. Value the live events as much as you want to. He also won in Australia, and I know that's a bigger window of time from what we kind of consider here as our hot list, but Joaquin Niemann, I'm going to put him in there. Now, at number 3 is Collin Morikawa. No, he has not won since the fall of 2023, but he's got multiple runners-up this year. The guy's living inside the top 15. It seems like he's contending every single week. Doesn't matter where they're playing. Again, I know that we value wins exponentially, but it's hard to deny him here. He's just playing too well. He's been knocked off his perch, the guy who resided at number 1 since the beginning of the year. His bad golf always has him in the top 20. I expect him, again, we have to consider the fact that he didn't start the year where he expected to, and also kind of in the physical shape that he expected to be in because of the accident right around Christmas time. So Scheffler falls out of number 1, and number 1, and rightfully so, is Rory McIlroy. He won at Pebble Beach. He won at the Players. Not only did he win these 2 monster events, these are 2 golf courses that doesn't allow him with total liberty to take advantage of his greatest strength, which is his driver. So there's a level of refinement with Rory that we're seeing that's wildly impressive. So there is our Club 5. You know who I know will endorse who is number 1? Maybe his biggest advocate, the founder of Friday Golf, a guy who's so dedicated to talking about the game of golf that he has gotten up in essentially the middle of the night in Northern California to join us. And I'm speaking of Andy Johnson of Friday. I said at the beginning of the show, this group of people who is dedicated to not only talking about the game of golf, but also showcasing some of the great things in golf from a design standpoint. Andy joins me now. Let's bring him up. There he is. Look, he looks like it's like the middle of the day. He's already been through hair and makeup. Good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's very dark here.
Yes, I'm sure that it is, but it's light enough in that room for us to see you. Let me start, not necessarily with me, anointing Rory at the top of our Club 5. You don't care about that. But the week. I want you to tell me the several things that stood out to you, whatever they might be. It could be metrics. It could be a moment. It could be a shot. It could be his demeanor. I don't care. Tell me the things that stood out to you about the way Rory got it done, because you were there and you followed him for several days.
I think just in general this year, I think when you look at greater sports and the way athletes are, I think like the thing that I'm impressed the most about is what Scottie Scheffler seemingly has done to the top end of the game. I think 2 years ago, Scottie started to raise the level of what a great modern PGA Tour player was. You know, he started to play really great golf, and I think for the first time, probably in over a decade, Rory McIlroy kind of looked around and thought, I don't think I'm the best player in the world. And he admitted that in a press conference. And I think like what's been super impressive is we've seen Xander Schauffele raises the level of his game, and now we're seeing Rory McIlroy play a higher level of golf. I think the highest level of golf that he's played in his entire career. You just see the well-roundedness of the game. Like he has all the answers to the test, and I think the big thing that I'll take away from the week is something that I take away often when you get these high leverage tournaments at great golf courses is that I'm always amazed at a 72 hole tournament how without a doubt the players are going to be asked questions that they don't want to necessarily answer, and it usually comes down to, can a player overcome and get through that question he doesn't want answered? And for Rory, I think the big question after Pinehurst was short putting in those high leverage moments, and he got it done in on 18, on 17 on Sunday, making those putts that were not easy putts. And then he came out in the playoff and holed the putt on 16, which was just a huge putt.
Huge.
If you look at all the shots, the tee shot on 16, the approach on 16, but then that second putt on 16 and the shot on 17, he effectively ended the playoff right there. But then you look at other players that were in the mix and where they kind of faltered. Akshay Bhatia, I thought was like very, very impressive. Tee to green. He switched to the broom 2 years ago and has become a really good putter. But then on the weekend in that high pressure environment, the putter's the thing that let him down. And that's been the thing that's held him back for his entire young career. You look at JJ Spawn. He's become a really great iron player. His iron play was awesome all weekend, but the thing that's held him back at the PGA Tour level is putting. And the putter on Sunday, he didn't make a putt outside of 7 feet. I just think that's the beauty. One of the beauties of golf is that if you want to win one of these really big events, you are going to have to face your weakness, the thing that deep down you don't do that well, right in the face and overcome it.
Let's you and I do a little dime store psychoanalysis of Rory here, because he's getting ready to go down Magnolia Lane. He's going to make a stop in Houston. That's a huge get for that event. But you tell me what you think, if you're going to give any merit to the psychology of what he has to deal with. The 10 years plus having not won a major, the recent scar tissue of 22, 23, and 24, the Open and then 2 U.S. Opens, or just the career Grand Slam and crossing that Rubicon at Augusta National, which nobody in the modern era, and I said this yesterday, with all due respect to Sarazen, he didn't know what he won in 1935. What do you think is the most challenging vortex that he's got to break through?
I think it's the golf course and just overcoming a golf course that hasn't treated you well. We've seen Augusta National do this to different players, whether it was Ernie Els, most famously. I just read Steve Williams' new book that's coming out, and Steve said in the book he was just like, Ernie never hit the shot that everybody hits on 13 or 15 to win him one. And I think just one of the things that's underrated with golf is when a golf course, like when you love a golf course, statistically you could look at it and be like, this doesn't fit this person's game. And I think as betting's gotten more evolved, people have looked at it and be like, this is not statistically a fit for this player. But you know what? They just come there and they play great golf. The flip side also can be true where, everybody always, it's a perfect place for Rory McIlroy. It's a perfect place to play golf for Rory McIlroy because he can turn over a driver on those right to left holes on the back nine. But like sometimes you just don't vibe with a golf course and it doesn't work out. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think like it's just the place and overcoming, a lot of scar tissue at the place. And I think like if you want to be hopeful, I think the biggest thing for Rory McIlroy is like the strategic way he's been playing golf this year. I think at the Players, it was a great example. He did not do what he usually does at a golf course, which is like he puts on a clinic off the tee.
Yep.
And he gains, he's gaining 1 or 2 shots on the field every single day with the driver. Some days even 3 shots with the driver. That was not the case at the Players. What he did, the way he won at the Players, was very reminiscent of the way that Jordan Spieth would win in 2015, or even the way we've seen Scottie Scheffler play at Augusta National, where Scottie hits a lot of great shots at Augusta National, but if you also see him just avoid risk and know that if he just dumps it to the right on 11, his short game's going to bail him out. He's going to be able to get up and down from right of 11 all day long. And I think Rory McIlroy at the Players played that style of game, like where he was out of position off the tee pretty frequently for his standards. He then got himself into positions, not necessarily always close for birdie, but into positions where he wasn't going to drop shots. And I think if he can play that style of golf, that he talked about being really conservative with his targets on approach shots. If he does that at Augusta National, he's going to limit those bogeys. Like I think the thing with Rory when he struggles in majors is, he just has those like momentum moments where he loses the momentum. It's just like a careless bogey where he's in the fairway with a short iron, and maybe he takes a little bit too aggressive of a target line, short sides himself, and makes a bogey. I think when he plays really smart with his targets, he just naturally runs into so many birdies. And at Augusta National, there's no better golf course for Rory in terms of a place that he can just run into birdies with 4 par 5s that are all very reachable and for him, very scoreable because of the position his driver can put him in.
No, very good points. I thought walking with him for the 4 days at the U.S. Open, if he did cross the line, it was going to be because of how tight he was and how efficient he was when he was missing greens. He did it on 4. He was right of 4 on Sunday. He got up and down on 7, up and down on 8. He was holding that momentum together, and then he walked to that 14th tee with a 2-shot lead, and then it was a tee shot we hadn't seen before. It's interesting you mentioned Els. I also think, Andy, when we presume that you should do certain things at certain places, I'm not saying that he feels like Augusta National owes him something, but he currently does reside with Els and Norman and Weiskopf in this generational presumption that this place was built for you. And he also had that early chapter in 2011 as well that I'm not saying he thinks about that stuff, but deep in the recesses, it has to live there, doesn't it?
I think so. And I think like that's like the misconception of Rory with Augusta National is like it's easy to look at off the tee and the way people can shape balls. And I think this was particularly became a big trend when Phil Mickelson and Bubba Watson were having these having master success because there were lefties that moved the ball that direction. But Augusta National has always been about iron play first and foremost. It's always been like you know the most elite iron players are going to be there all the time. You know, they are, if you can hit your iron shots and control where you're putting the ball on those greens, that is the biggest weapon at Augusta National. Because I think one of the things that I like the most about Augusta National personally, I love that off the tee, it's very demanding off the tee. I think that's a misconception. People look at the width of it and think that it is, it's forgiving. It's very demanding, but it allows you the opportunity with the width that it has, you know, and what I mean by that is how wide the fairways from, you know, and playing corridors are.
Yes.
So off the tee, you can pass the test there. I think that's the thing that Augusta National does that's very interesting is that if I go there and I drive the ball well, I know I could conceivably hit every single fairway. And that's never the case at, your traditional US Open setups where it is very narrow. You can't possibly pass the test. By having a course that allows the test to be passed, it just puts more emphasis on the iron play. So I think that's the big thing is Rory has always been kind of a streaky iron player. He's a astoundingly great iron player when the irons are cooking, but he's not, Scotty Scheffler or Tiger Woods.
No.
I think that's the thing. People look at Tiger Woods and they look at the power, but he was the greatest iron player that's ever played the game of golf. And that is why he played Augusta National so well, on top of many other reasons, including his short game of putting.
No question. Listen, next time we will do it at a civilized hour for you. Maybe you'll be on this side of the country. Because there's so much I want to talk with you about with respect to design. You guys did a wonderful thing on the park in West Palm with Jim Wagner. I recommend that to everybody. I recommend your stuff, whatever it is, to everybody because it's all so good. Thank you for getting up at this early hour. Just go ahead and start your day before 6 a.m.
That's the beauty is I'm up and at 'em. I'm thinking about a little workout, a little yoga, and that's before the kiddos up. So it's not bad getting up this early. Don't mind it.
Thank you for doing this. I'll see you at Augusta National.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, there is Andy Johnson, the founder of Fried Egg. Again, their stuff is excellent. All the stuff they do. We come back. We got dogs. We got our picks. We're back right after this. We want you to send them in. Dogs at 5clubsgolf.com. We end the week with Dogs of the Week. This segment brought to you by Pinehurst Resort. Make plans to go to Pinehurst. It's the cradle of American golf. They've got cottages now available to you that will be useful in the month of May. The new clubhouse at number 10 with their restaurant. Always a great time to be at the cradle of American golf. All right, let's get to the dogs. Our Dogs of the Week. A couple of these are personal for me with some people I know, but we will start with Dexter. You know where he is. Got all access at TPC Sawgrass. He is the unofficial morale officer at the stadium course. Great pictures right there. Here's one of the great teammates you could ever have, whether it's television or just in life. That's Lauren Thompson, the host of NBC Sports Next for Golf. That's her dog, Penny, a 3-year-old red poodle. Great to see LT right there with her dog. Let's move on to Riley. That is at Balfour Golf Club in British Columbia, Canada, out for an evening of 9 holes. The owner is John Simons. John, thanks for sending in that picture of Riley. And now we move on. That's Bud Cauley's caddy's dog. That is at Quail Hollow at the Performance Center. That is Millie. And that used to be, so that's David Geese is the owner. David used to caddy for Johnson Wagner. And then finally, that is Percy. Chloe Pistorius, who is the primary producer of Golf Today at Golf Channel, that's the 3-year-old schnoodle, lives in central Illinois. That is Percy, who is watching Golf Today on Golf Channel, I promise. All right, how about our picks for the Valspar? Love this golf course at the Copperhead. Remember going there with my dad when I was a teenager. It is a perfect way to put a bow on the Florida swing. Nobody picked the winner last week at the Players' Championship. Taylor remains the only person who's picked a winner this year. It's now the middle of March. I had Ludwig. He missed the cut. We had a couple of people who picked Jason Day. He withdrew right before the event started. That was Gil Hansen, Emma Carpenter. We are not good. We have got to shake off the doldrums. Let's see if somebody, maybe a couple of us, can do it this week. Taylor Zarzour is your leader. Here are the picks for the Valspar. I'm going with Corey Connors. Off a tie for 6th at the Players. Has a modest record of the Valspar. It's more about form. He finished 3rd at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Justin Thomas for Gil. Corey Connors as well for Emma. Jordan Spieth for not only Johnson Wagner but Taylor Zarzour. He won the event in 2015. And then Tommy Fleetwood for Jay Billis and Brendan DeYoung. Tommy is now crossed over a threshold where he is the first guy, I think, to earn $25 million on the PGA Tour without having a win. You know, Brendan DeYoung at one time was in the top 5 for money earned for a player who had not won on the PGA Tour. I know he's really happy with me that I mentioned that. Bryony Baird, in his P.F. Chang attire, at one time was the guy who had the most money earned, having not won. Tommy Fleetwood now right at about $25 million. Look, Tommy Fleetwood could win any week. He and Kyle Morikawa, if they can have a competent putting week, either one of those guys can win a golf tournament. Let me go back to where I started the program and just kind of reemphasize a couple things about the future of the game. The Junior Invitational at Sage Valley is underway down the road in Graniteville, South Carolina. Great event. The best juniors in the world. It's a smaller field, but if you look at who's won, from Scotty Scheffler to Akshay Bhatia to Austin Eckroat to Tom McKibben, Astric Talley, Anna Davis. It's a great event. Play well, kids. Enjoy it. That's a great thing. And then finally, at 10 a.m. today, the Underrated Tour's schedule is released. I know those kids from all over the country are excited to find out where they're going at no cost to them or their parents. We hope all of you enjoy your golf. I'm playing a place on Saturday that a lot of people think may be the best thing that's been built in a long time. I'll have a full report on Monday. Have a great rest of your week.